Hi boys and girls, this is lesson 10 problem set. We're going to do all of the problem set together today. So please pay close attention and do your very best work. I'm going to ask you to do some parts on your own and come back and check your work. So lesson 10, we're using the distributive property, which means we're taking one of the numbers out of the multiplication sentence and breaking it up into smaller numbers, and then multiplying both of those numbers by the other factor, okay? So let's take a look at 8 times 8. So we're going to start with number 1a, 8 times 8. So we're going to break this apart. We're going to keep the 8, but we're going to break this 8 apart into two other factors, okay? So when we do that, we have a picture drawn. We have 8 going down and 8 going across, and we split it into 8 times 5. So 8 times 5 is equal to 40. And then in the part with the white circles, we have 8 going down times 3 going across, and that is equal to 24. Okay, so the 5 and 3 are equal to this 8. And then we multiplied that 8 by each of them. So we kept that the same. So now we can add together 40 and 24, and we get 64, and that's 8 times 8. If we show it down here in the box, this is what the distributive property looks like. It's what you already did. 8 times 5 plus this other number. So this is equaling that. So then we're distributing this 8 to the 5. So we have 8 times 5. And to the 3, so we have 8 times 3. And then we have 40 plus 24, and the answer is 64. I don't want you to just copy down numbers. I want you to really think about it and say things to yourself that I'm saying. Let's take a look at letter B. Here they show us 8 times 9 is equal to 9 times 8, which is equal to what? Okay. So same thing, we're pulling that 8 multiplier, it's called a multiplier because that's what we're multiplying by. So we're pulling that out and we're breaking apart the 9. So over here we have 8 times 5, which is 40. That's the go-to fact because 40 is a nice even 10 number. When we pull that 5 out of the 9, we're left with 4, aren't we? And 8 times 4 equals 32. Then we add 40 plus 32 and get 72. Let's show it down in the box. 9 times 8 equals 8 times 5 plus 4 because we need that 5 and something else to equal our other number we're multiplying because we pulled the 8 out. So then we distribute the 8 to the 5 and we get 8 times 5, and we distribute it to the 4 and we get 8 times 4. So that's 40 plus 32 equals 72. Let's go down to number 2. And you remember Mrs. Goshard said she has trouble seeing these problems. This to me is harder to do than the top part, but maybe this is easier for you. So if we break apart and distribute 56 divided by 8, we can pull out that nice even 40 fact, okay? So 40 divided by 8. When we take 40 from 56, we're left with 16. So we're going to show 16 divided by 8 down here. So 40 divided by 8 is 5. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So 56 divided by 8 equals 5 plus 2, which is 7. And 7 times 8 is equal to 56. That's how we can check ourselves. And remember, if you're still having trouble with some of these facts, go back and use that multiplication table from lesson 1 of the module. Maybe some of you cut it out and have it hanging somewhere. So let's take a look at number 3. Break apart and distribute to solve 72 divided by 8. So again, they pulled out that nice 40 fact. So what's left when we take 40 from 72? We're left with 32. and we're going to still divide by 8. So 72 divided by 8 equals 40 divided by 8 plus 32 divided by 8. So 40 divided by 8 is 5, plus 32 divided by 8 is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. And we can check by doing 8 times 9 is equal to 72. Let's go on to the next part of, if I can turn the page here, the problem set. Number 4, we're going to skip count by 8s. Okay, an octagon has 8 sides. Skip count to find the total number of sides on 9 octagons. So as we're thinking about this, maybe you're getting good at your 8 facts, 8 times 1, 8 times 2. So we can think of this as 8 times 1, 8 times 2, 8 times 3, 8 times 4, etc., etc., to count by 8s. Counting by 8s is hard. So this would be 24, 32, and if I'm thinking 8 times 5, it's 40. 8 more is 48. So now I'm at 8 times 7, 56. 64, 72. So 9 octagons have a total of 72 sides. So we just did 8 sides times 9 octagons equals 72 sides. You can use these octagons up here to complete number 5. So go ahead and complete number 5. You're filling in the answer to each of those problems, and then come on back and check your work. Welcome back. Did anybody figure out which problem, which multiplication fact down here was not up top with the octagons? It was 8 times 10. So check your work, check your answers on here. And let's move on to the next page, number 6. You're going to match the division facts now. So in your mind, you could be thinking 24 divided by 8 equals 3. You could also be thinking in your head, sometimes it's easier for me to flip a division into multiplication. So if I'm thinking 24 divided by 8, what I could think to myself is 8 times what equals 24. So if it's easier for you to flip it around like that, go ahead and do that. So pause the video and then come on back and check your work. Welcome back. Go ahead and check your work. Make sure that you have the correct answers. So let's take a look. 32 divided by 8 equals 4 because 4 times 8 equals 32. 16 divided by 8 equals 2 because 2 times 8 equals 16. 64 divided by 8 equals 8 because 8 times 8 equals 64. 48 divided by 8 equals 6 because 6 times 8 equals 48. 72 divided by 8 equals 9 because 9 times 8 equals 72. Boys and girls, you should say those as often as you can so that they stick in your brain. It's training. Your brain is a muscle, and it's training your muscle, okay? Muscle memory. All right, guys, make sure you submit your problem set on Schoology.